So, you want to get in Tarkov? Well, there's a couple things you should know before you start playing, and I just wanted to let you know you are going to die a lot in this game. Even you can see my screen here, out of my 159 raids, I've died 93 times. That's not to say that I'm bad, it's just to say that you're going to die a lot in your raids. But anyway, let's get on with the first thing you need to know about Tarkov. First thing you need to know is about if you want to choose a USEC or a bear. The main difference between USEC and bear is that bears use AK style weapons like AK-74U, and the USEC uses more American weapons like the M4 and the MP5. The next thing to know about Tarkov is which side you're picking to go into a raid. You have the option between a Scav and a PMC. A Scav is your more safe looting method, whereas your PMC is more high risk, high reward. When you're playing as a Scav, there are some things you need to know. So, things like you spawn in around 10 minutes after the PMC spawn. So, when you're playing as a Scav, you're mainly going to be going for the scraps that the PMCs have left behind or just didn't find. The next thing you should know as a Scav is you should never kill anyone else. Because if you kill another Scav while you're a Scav, you lose fence karma, and fence karma is really important in the game, especially later game when they spawn with fleers and higher rare quality loot. So now this takes us to the other side of the aisle, the PMCs. Some things to know when you are playing as a PMC is that PMCs try and spawn at the same time. However, you could spawn late or you could spawn early depending on hard drive speed or internet. So the first thing you should do when you hop into a raid is check and see if you spawn in late or not. You can do that by double pressing O to see your extractions and the time left. And the closer you are to an even number, like 34 minutes or 36 minutes, the earlier you've spawned in. The next thing you want to know as a PMC is you should have a loot route planned out. And this is because you want to get to where you want to raid first so other people don't get your items. And finally, the last thing is a PMC. If you are new, you should try and avoid conflict at all costs, especially if your gun skill isn't up to par. The next thing I'd like to talk about might be the most important thing in Tarkov, and that is knowing the maps and knowing where loot spawns in the maps. So, as you know, if you played Tarkov a little bit, you can loot crates and filing cabinets and PCs and stashes, and you can loot other players. However, a lot of items spawn on the ground naturally too, and you can see their in-game model in the world. So all you have to do is go to them and pick them up. When I first started playing Tarkov, I didn't know you could actually pick up items off the ground, so I've probably missed hundreds of thousands of rubles worth of items. So this also goes into learning the maps, because if you are a PMC or a Scav, you need to know how to get out of there with your loot, so you need to know the extraction points. What I used to learn the maps is I had a second monitor and I used a website called Map Genie for Tarkov. And it helped me learn the maps so much faster than going in a private game and just being by myself and learning the map. Although, if you do not have a second monitor or you do not want to use Map Genie, going into a private match is a perfect way to actually familiarize yourself with the map. And continuing from our earlier point about talking about loot in Tarkov, there are multiple things that you can actually loot in the game. And this includes things like crates, weapon boxes, duffel bags, filing cabinets, safes, PCs, dead scavs, other players. There are so many things in Tarkov that you can search and find loot inside of. Depending on which of these items you search in, they contain different loot tables. So the green weapon boxes I find have more attachments and scopes and other things, whereas the black weapon boxes that are square, they contain more weapons and more rigs and armor and helmets and other things like that. And now that you know what loot spawns in what crates, there's also something you should know about the maps. I feel like certain maps have certain needs. For instance, a lighthouse is really good for getting really expensive technical equipment. If you go to the water treatment plant and enter through the window, there's a big chance you'll find GPUs on the ground, ASAs, or just other expensive tech items. Another map that has a really big point in Tarkov is Interchange. Now this map is a big shopping mall with 3 stories. The top story is more for barter items. There's a tech store there that you can find GPUs. There's a food court up there where you can get food and you can rob the cash registers for money. The mid-level is more so grocery stores, and you'll find barter items and a lot of food in the grocery stores. And the bottom level is more of a military kind of outpost camp, and you'll find more weapons, attachments, and you'll even find scavs down there too. The thing I recommend most before playing any map is to know where the rare spawns are. For instance, on Lighthouse, there's a really good scav route that you can run that goes up near the cottages up on the hill. and those houses are jammed packed with rare loot spawns. In one of the houses alone, I think there's closer to 10, maybe even 15 rare spawns in a small little house. The next thing to talk about in Tarkov is the PvP. The most important thing to know is actually what bullets you're using in Tarkov. So armor has a penetration value, and if you inspect on an armor, you can see what armor level it is. Most people will be running armor level 4 or above, because armor level 4 you can get from traders. It is a little expensive, but it is much more worth it than having no armor or level 3 at all, because most ammo in Tarkov can easily breeze through level 3 armor. Just to name a couple of the good ammo types in Tarkov, for the 545 ammo type, you have things like BTGS, BSGS, PPBS, GS Eaglenik, and for the 556, you actually have things like M855A1, M995, SSAAP, and for things like the 762x39, you have BPGZH, MAIAP. Basically anything that is AP stands for armor piercing, and that is really good. If you want more information on ammo in Tarkov, you can go to a website called tarkovammochart.com. That is what I use to see which bullets are the best, and this website is updated often. Every wipe, bullets do change, their penetration changes because some things are OP, and you should just use this website to get more information on your bullet types and what you should use. The next thing about PvP is the second most important thing behind ammo, and that is the guns that you use and how you should use them. First off, you should never ever use a scav gun or a gun that is heavily damaged with its durability, because if your gun has low durability, it has a higher chance to misfire and to jam, and it takes 5, maybe even more seconds if you don't know the keybind to undo the jam. The next thing to take into account is, what is your gun? Is your gun a sniper rifle? Is it an AR? Is it just a pistol? These things determine how you should use the gun, because if you're using a sniper, it's going to be really hard for you to kill an enemy up close. However, if you're using a submachine gun or an assault rifle, it'll be easier to kill an enemy that is 5 feet away from you. So say you do have an enemy in front of you and you have a fully automatic weapon. How are you going to kill them? Are you going to aim down sight, or are you just going to hit fire? In Tarkov, it is actually much better to hit fire because it's much more accurate than games like Call of Duty. If you have a laser in Tarkov, it nearly shows you exactly where your bullet's going to hit, and hit fire is so accurate in this game, sometimes I don't even bother to aim down sight. Now say it's on the other end of the spectrum and you have a sniper rifle and you're aiming at an enemy really far away. Tarkov is a game that includes bullet drop, and I feel in this game the bullet drop is insane compared to other games, especially like Call of Duty. Sometimes you have to have a rangefinder just to even tell the distance to change your zeroing on your scope. And with PvP on Tarkov, the more you do it, the better you will get at it. Trust me, from experience, I've gotten so much better this wipe compared to last wipe. Last wipe was my very first time ever playing Tarkov, and I maybe had below a 0.5 KD that wipe. This wipe, I've been playing the game so much more, and I've had so much fun playing this wipe, and I think it's all due because I know the game better, and I actually know what to do in the game. The next thing to talk about is what you should sell after you get out of your raids. Certain items are used for certain tasks and some are used for your hideout. It's really hard to know what you should keep and what you should sell. Most people in Tarkov just want to make the money fast so they can get to the flea market and just spend all their money on whatever they want. And that's completely fine if that's how you want to play the game, but I think that leveling up your traders and your hideout is much more worth it than just selling the items. And this is because when you level up your hideout, you get access to crafting better items like the better bullets we talked about before. And when you level up your traders, they'll sell you higher quality loot than your tier 1 traders do. Especially for your first wipe, it might be hard to come to terms with, you need to find what items you need for certain tasks and for certain hideout upgrades. So I would say in your very first wipe of Tarkov, it's basically going to be everyone's experimental run, because you don't really know what you do need and what you don't need. Because if you just want to make money and play the game, that's fine by all means. But your first wipe should be more experimental than actually playing the game and trying to get competitive at it. The very final thing I have on my list here about Tarkov is about fence. Now, I talked about fence earlier when saying what you should and shouldn't do as a scav, and I said you should not kill other scavs when you're a scav. This is because that loses you fence rep. Fence is a black market kind of guy, and he's your trader. And he supplies your scavs with the loot that they take into battle. So you want to try and have the best rep with fence you can so you get better tier items. So how do you level up your fence rep? The main way that I've leveled it up is from taking car extracts. Now, car extracts are on maps like Woods, Customs, Lighthouse, Interchange, and Streets. And this is by taking a car, paying around a $5,000 fee, waiting 30 seconds, and then fence will take you away and you will get 0.25 rep for the first time on every single map. And then it decreases every time you take the extract from there, all the way down to 0.01 per extract. The next way to get fence rep is by taking co-op extracts, and this is actually very hard to do because you need a scav and a PMC to extract together at the same spot. The reason this is so hard is because PMCs try and kill everything because that's their loot they're taking in the battle and they need to get back with their own loot. So PMCs are usually ruthless. However, there are nice people in the community and they will extract with you. However, it is very hard, and sometimes even scavs will turn on PMCs to try to extract with them, because if a PMC has some really good loot on them, a scav can just kill them and take their loot and run. There are 2 more ways to earn fence rep as far as I know, and the next way is actually the most dangerous and could cause you to even lose rep, and that is by killing trader scavs. Basically, a trader scav is a scav that has killed another scav. So the thing is you have to make sure they actually killed the scav. And this goes back into the point earlier where if someone tries to shoot you, but they miss. If they miss and you kill them, you lose the fence rep. However, if they do a percentage of damage to you and then you kill them, you earn fence rep. So that's why I say as a scav, you just try not kill anybody, because I think it's too dangerous to try and just risk it to try and get a little extra scav karma. And the final way to earn fence rep is the simplest, and it is just playing as a scav. Every time you play as a scav, you get 0.01 fence rep. And although that seems like a little amount, it adds up over time. If you do 100 scav raids, that is actually a full point towards fence. And you actually will notice a big change in the quality of loot you receive from him. The last thing I'd like to talk about before you get into some extras is that in Tarkov you have skills that level up according to which tasks you do. I don't mean tasks as in like quests, I mean more so like if you eat something, your metabolism skill increases. And I think the most important ones in Tarkov is actually your stamina and your endurance skills, because it allows you to regenerate stamina quicker and allows you to run for longer. So this is important because you want to get to your loot spot first before anyone else does. And the way to do that is to be able to sprint longer. So before this video ends, there's a couple things to talk about, little extras I'd like to add. And that is that in Tarkov, there are bosses. Each map has its own specific boss, and I believe there are a couple maps that actually can spawn 2 bosses in them. But anyways, bosses are like cracked out AI. They are much smarter than regular scavs that you fight as a PMC. They are super hard. Now, below bosses, there are actually raiders and rogues, and they also have pretty cracked AI. They're not as good as bosses, however, they are very strong because they spawn in groups. So my recommendation for new players is to try not to go after bosses, rogues, or raiders, because if your gun skill isn't up to point, they will kill you very fast. Really, the only way to kill them is with grenades or by one-tapping their head. So for some bosses, like Killa, he has a helmet that actually protects against bullets really good. You have to hit him in the head multiple times to actually kill him. So if you're new to the game, I would just avoid trying to engage with them. So one other extra thing you need to know is whenever you get Flea Market, which is unlocked at level 15, 2 things you should get, or maybe even 1 thing depending on how you want to play it, is you should get the Docs case or the keychain. Because the Docs case acts like a keychain, except the Docs case holds more items like the solid state drives, small diaries, and things like that. So you can put that in your case. so you never lose it, and you can just add it to there, and usually those things are worth quite a bit of money too. So that's about all I have for this video, and I really hope you enjoyed. But just keep in mind for Tarkov, you're gonna die a lot, and sometimes you're gonna kill people, especially if you're new. I would recommend, if you want to train your gun skill, play on Factory. Factory is a really good map to try and aim your gun skill in, because a lot of new players do play on Factory. So yeah, that's about it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found this information useful. If you liked the video, please give it a like, hit the subscribe button. You can turn the notification bell on. I really hope to be posting more Tarkov content in the future. If you enjoy this video, maybe even leave a comment. Anyways, I hope you had a great day, and I'll see you later.